Every once in a while, someone claws their way back, finds the right system, the right coach, the right moment, and flips the script completely.
Early on in my career, it's looked as cocky, immature. Now it's moxie, he's a dog. Same, different day. Just as long as you play well, they change the narrative.
How about we talk about the guys who were left for dead soon by the fans and teams that took them on draft day and ended up rewriting their career narratives for another franchise. Baker Mayfield, first overall, 2018 NFL Draft, Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I think this is the most obvious place to start. Baker Mayfield's career was supposed to be over by 2022. He'd gone from Heisman hero to Cleveland's punching bag, despite actually taking him to a playoff game, I might add. And after bouncing from Carolina to the Rams in a single season, most people had assumed that he'd be holding a clipboard by now, if he was even that lucky. But instead, he's holding on to the NFC South crown and running one of the most exciting offenses in the game today. Through 8 weeks of the 2025 season, Mayfield's got Tampa sitting at 6-2, top of the division with one of the league's cleanest touchdown-interception ratios and firmly in the MVP conversation. After years of being called a system QB, he finally found one that works quick reads, heavy play action, and the confidence in him to take the deep shots down the field that he loves to take. It also probably helps to be part of a team that doesn't implode on itself every other week like Cleveland or Carolina. And you know, that's kind of the funny part. Baker didn't suddenly become someone else. He just stopped trying to fit into the box that Cleveland was forcing him into and went back to being the quarterback that he's always been. Fiery, confident, and very efficient. Not too bad for a guy who was supposed to be finished before 30. Sam Darnold, third overall, 2018 NFL Draft, New York Jets. There's a running joke that every Jets quarterback is better the second that they leave New York. And to be honest, it sort of extends beyond quarterbacks, even though Sam Darnold is a great example. That organization is just so dysfunctional that it actually hinders players' development, and ultimately, their performance on the field in a major way. Now, in some fairness to the Jets, Sam didn't exactly excel right away at his next stop, but what we saw from him once he got into a legit system with a good coach should have been an eye-opener to just how incompetent the Jets and Panthers are. First, he started to show signs of life with Kyle Shanahan and San Fran, and then he turned into a legit starter with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, though people still tried to call it a fluke. So much so, to the point that after leading the team to a 14-3 record and putting up big numbers, the rest of the league still kind of rolled its eyes when he signed with Seattle this offseason. Yep, here we are, with Darnold sitting at 5-2, ranked among the best in the league in many passing stats, and looking like the quarterback the Jets thought they had drafted back in 2018. Clint Kubiak built a scheme around rhythm throws, heavy motion, and letting Darnold play point guard instead of hero ball. No more 30-yard prayer shots off his back foot. No more seeing ghosts. Just controlled football with extreme confidence. For a guy who spent years as the league's favorite what went wrong story, continuing the next chapter of his career in Seattle isn't just a second act. It's a full-blown revival. Jerry Hughes, 31st overall, 2010, Indianapolis Colts. And he drafted him to be the next edge terror in the ilk of Dwight Freeney. But unfortunately for the Colts, Hughes never really found the switch there. What happened next? Well, he was miscast, underused, and trending toward forgotten when the Bills picked him up off the scrap heap. Buffalo gave him a fresh start and a much better system to play in that complemented his skill set with better alignments and express permission to attack the edges. And the results were impressive. It helped Hughes turn in back-to-back 10-sack seasons to start his career in Western New York, which is then followed by a long, steady prime. He never became a 15, a Hall of Fame guy like Freeney, but he was a legit pro that played 15 years in the NFL, and you know, that is definitely not nothing. Ryan Tannehill, 8th overall, 2012, Miami Dolphins. If you only remember Ryan Tannehill from his Miami days, you probably remember inconsistency and constant excuses. He had the arm, he had the tools, but it just always felt like you were waiting for the breakthrough that never came. 8 years later, the Dolphins finally gave up, and honestly, I don't think anybody could blame him. But then came Tennessee. Tannehill took over midseason in 2019 for Marcus Mariota and immediately lit the league on fire. He led the NFL in passer rating, won Comeback Player of the Year, and dragged the Titans all the way to the AFC Championship. And that was the turning point. The same traits that frustrated coaches in Miami suddenly looked refined and impactful. Derrick Henry's gravity-simplified reads, the offensive line protected, and Tannehill started slicing defenses with rhythm throws and vertical precision. He wasn't reinvented. He was just finally optimized. For the next few seasons, he turned Tennessee into a playoff regular. Not too bad for a guy that everyone assumed would be out of the league after a brief pit stop in Music City. Eric Ebron, 10th overall, 2014 Detroit Lions. Detroit fans still flinch when they hear the name Eric Ebron. Taken 10th overall in 2014, Ebron's Lions career was, a roller coaster of dropped passes and unmet expectations. He was the exact kind of player that fans loved to scapegoat, and by 2018, Detroit had seen enough, so they cut him loose. But that is when things began to get interesting. The Colts picked him up on a cheap prove-it deal, and with Andrew Luck slinging him the ball, Ebron exploded for 13 touchdowns, the most by any tight end that season. Unfortunately, injuries caught up with him and he played just a few more years in the NFL, but Ebron will always have that impressive second act. Daniel Jones, 6th overall, 2019, New York Giants. Daniel Jones didn't just get booed in New York. He became the lightning rod for an entire era of frustration. Every sack, every turnover, every bad snap turned into another told you so for Giants fans who never bought the pick. And so, by the end of 2023, that relationship was toxic. New York was ready to move on, and so was he. He bounced around as a backup before ultimately landing with the Colts ahead of the 2025 season. After laboring away with Anthony Richardson for 2 years, Shane Steichen needed a quarterback who could actually execute his motion-based, tempo-heavy offense. Someone who could blend athleticism with precision. And Jones quietly became that guy. Through 8 games in 2025, he has already thrown for roughly over 2,000 yards with 13 touchdowns and only 3 picks, guiding the Colts to one of the AFC's best records. The Colts use his legs as a weapon on boots and RPOs, keeping him in rhythm with layered crossers, and let his arm talent play inside structure instead of panicking left, right, and center. He still has more to prove, but this has been a heck of a start to Daniel Jones' second act. So, let's all hope that this continues. Mekhi Becton, 11th overall, 2020, New York Jets. When the Jets drafted Becton, they thought they were getting a left tackle for the next decade. But instead, injuries, weight questions, and conditioning issues derailed absolutely everything. Then came Philadelphia. The Eagles bet on his raw power and athleticism, dropped him into the most physical O-line culture in football, and watched him transform. By the time Philly made its 2024 Super Bowl run, Becton wasn't a reclamation project. He was a cornerstone. Strong in pass protection, mobile in zone runs, and finally healthy enough to show why he went in the top 15. And man, we have seen what an impact losing him to free agency has made on their line partway through the 2025 season. All in all, an incredibly impressive turnaround for Becton. Jared Goff, 1st overall, 2016 Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff's career trajectory has been far from linear, as I'm sure you're all aware. He came out the gates looking like a huge bust for the Rams, losing his first 7 games for a horrendous team. But then Sean McVay arrived and just changed everything, at least for the moment. He was selected to the Pro Bowl in back-to-back years between 2017 and 2018, totaling 24 wins and averaging over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Still though, people saw him just as a system quarterback, apparently even within the organization. Because just a few years later, after putting up even more gaudy numbers and making a Super Bowl appearance, he was shipped out of town in humiliating fashion for Matt Stafford. The fall from grace was fast. One minute he's in the Super Bowl with Sean McVay, the next he's being shipped out for Matthew Stafford like an old phone in a trade-in deal. The sentiment was simple. System quarterback, cap ceiling, move on. But man, Detroit didn't just treat him like the stopgap bridge quarterback that many at the time believed him to be. No, they built around him. Goff's poise reappeared, his accuracy sharpened, and Detroit started playing like a team that expected to win every Sunday with one of the most dynamic offenses in the entire game. Marshawn Lynch, 12th overall, 2007 Seattle Seahawks. Marshawn Lynch was never supposed to be a bust story. I mean, the Cal product hit the league like a sledgehammer with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons right out the gate in Buffalo. He was young, powerful, and looked like he was built to be the next great bruiser in a long line of AFC East running backs. But by 2009? Oh, jeez, that shine had worn off fast. Lynch went from future of the franchise to maybe trade bait in what felt like a single offseason. Suspension, inconsistent play, a new coaching staff that didn't seem all that interested in featuring him put his career in limbo for a hot minute. And then came the move to Seattle, and that's where everything changed for Lynch. He became the focal point of their offense and the heartbeat of their locker room, becoming one of the most dominant running backs in the game and leading the Seahawks to a Super Bowl title in the process. Alex Smith, first overall, 2005 San Francisco 49ers. Alex Smith's early years were a clinic in dysfunction. Different coordinator every season, injuries, and a fan base that had already decided that he wasn't the guy. For most of the 2000s, the former number 1 pick was basically a symbol for wasted potential, especially juxtaposed against Aaron Rodgers' success. Then, Jim Harbaugh walked through the door in 2011, simplified absolutely everything, and Smith's career finally stabilized. The 49ers became contenders overnight, and Smith went from punchline to playoff starter. 2 years later, he was traded to Kansas City after losing his job due to injury, and under Andy Reid, the transformation became complete. He turned into one of the most efficient quarterbacks in all of football. Multiple Pro Bowls, top 10 finishes in completion percentage and QBR, and several postseason trips. This was an impressive second act to say the very least. But hey, which former NFL first-round pick do you think had the most impressive second act? Was there anyone that you actually believed in during their first stop? Was there anyone that we may have missed here? What do you think we got wrong? What do you think we got right? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.